Everything you have ever sought in the realm of finances, in the domain of wealth, in the world of endless abundance is already yours, but not out there in the distant future, not after years of toil, but right now in the invisible dimension of your imagination. Your financial destiny is not something to be chased. It is something to be realized. There are sentences, yes, mere combinations of words, that when spoken with belief, when felt deeply, when accepted as truth in the secret chamber of your soul, will shake the very foundations of your outer reality. Not because the words have power in and of themselves, but because they are bridges to the state of being that magnetizes wealth with effortless certainty. The world as you see it is nothing more than a reflection, a mirror of your dominant inner state. Change your inner talk, and you will change your world. Change the sentences you repeat in silence, and you will change the flow of riches that move toward you. For everything in your external world, including your bank account, your job, your income, your opportunities, they all arise from your self-concept, from the beliefs you carry within, whether conscious or buried deep beneath the surface. So I ask you now, are you ready to declare the truth of who you are? Are you willing to drop the old story of lack, of waiting, of hardship, of striving and not receiving? For only when you let go of the false narrative can you step into the divine inheritance that has always belonged to you. These three sentences, when felt as real, when assumed as the only truth, when repeated not mechanically, but with burning conviction, will change your financial destiny forever. The first sentence, I am already wealthy, and all the riches I desire flow to me now. Pause and breathe. Say it slowly. Close your eyes. Feel the reality of it. Do not utter these words like a beggar hoping to be heard, but as a God knowing what already is. Let the sentence draw you into the state of the wish fulfilled. Let it awaken the sleeping giant within you, the I am, that creates all things. For when you say I am already wealthy, you are not speaking of some future event. You are identifying yourself now, in this eternal present, with the only power that can produce results, your imagination fused with belief. This sentence is not an affirmation in the way people understand affirmations. It is not a trick to manipulate the universe into giving you something. No, it is a recognition of your creative authority. When you say, I am already wealthy, you are stepping into the identity of the one who possesses, who does not want, who does not strive, but who simply is. You are assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You are reprogramming the subconscious mind that governs all behavior, all outcomes, and all manifestations. There is nothing you must do but feel it real. Speak it in your mind, not with desperation, but with certainty, with calm assurance, as if it's the most natural thing in the world. Now the second sentence, money comes to me in expected and unexpected ways, always increasing, always multiplying. This sentence is the removal of all limitations. It erases the notion that wealth can only come through one channel. It dissolves the belief that money is scarce, or that you must struggle for it. It opens the door to possibilities beyond logic, beyond reason, beyond what your five senses can see. For it declares that the source of your supply is infinite, and that the forms it takes are endless. This is the way of the universe. It responds to your state, not your effort. When you assume that money flows easily, you stop blocking its path. You stop resisting with doubt, fear, and negative expectation. You begin to live in the frequency of abundance. And like a tuning fork, the world must match your inner vibration. You become magnetic to wealth, not because you forced it, but because you surrendered to the truth that abundance is your natural state. There is no magic trick to this. There is only alignment with your true self. Every time you speak this sentence, money comes to me in expected and unexpected ways. You are surrendering control and trusting the intelligence that created galaxies. You are letting the universe surprise you, delight you, astonish you with avenues you could never plan. You are allowing the miracle of divine orchestration to unfold. And when you add the words always increasing, always multiplying, you embed growth into your experience. You are no longer just attracting money. You are expanding in wealth consciousness. Then comes the third sentence, the final key. I live in the end result of all I desire. I see it, feel it, and accept it as done. This is the golden thread that ties it all together. For it is not enough to declare what you want. You must become the one who already has it. You must dwell in the consciousness of the fulfilled desire. You must live from the end, not toward it. You must no longer hope. You must no longer wait. You must no longer ask. You must assume. This sentence trains the mind to abide in the state of fulfillment. Not someday, not later, but now. It teaches you to no longer react to appearances, but to persist in the invisible. To see the invisible as more real than the visible. To walk through this world clothed in the feeling of already having what your heart longs for. And the moment you do, your world must bend. Your life must conform. Because reality is not fixed, it is fluid, shaped by the potter's hand of your imagination. Do you understand the power you hold? These 3 sentences are not mere affirmations. They are gateways to a new identity. They are declarations of truth. They are seeds planted in the subconscious soil that will bear fruit in due season. But they must be spoken, not with mindless repetition, but with spiritual intensity, with a calm knowing trust, with emotional conviction. They must become the tone of your inner dialogue, the rhythm of your self-talk, the vibration of your being. It is not the words that work the miracle. It is your belief in them. It is the feeling you marry to the words. It is the state of consciousness from which you speak them. If you speak them while still clinging to fear, while still doubting, while still waiting for proof before you believe, they will remain just words. But if you speak them from the mountaintop, if you feel them in the silence of your soul, if you wear them like a garment, then the world will echo back the evidence of your new state. Let me ask you, have you ever truly felt wealthy? Not because you had something, but because you decided to feel it. Have you ever truly let the sensation of abundance flood your body, move through your heart, and rest in your mind? That is where the miracle begins. When you feel the truth of these sentences, you rewrite your subconscious blueprint. You tell your inner world that you are no longer available for lack, for fear, for struggle. You are only available for wealth, expansion, and ease. Let me be clear. Your circumstances do not matter. What you see right now does not matter. Your past does not matter. Your debt, your paycheck, your background. None of it can block you, unless you continue to identify with it. But the moment you shift states, the moment you identify as wealthy, the moment you declare your new reality, and feel it as true, everything begins to rearrange. The bridge of incidents unfolds. The people show up. The ideas appear. The doors open. And you walk through as the one who already possesses all. So I invite you now, in the quiet of your being, to begin. Say these words not as a wish, but as a fact. I am already wealthy, and all the riches I desire flow to me now. Let that truth settle in your bones. Breathe it in. Feel the relief. Feel the safety. Feel the empowerment. Then say, money comes to me in expected and unexpected ways, always increasing, always multiplying. Let it expand your vision. Let it dissolve your limits. Let it open the gates to serendipity and grace. And finally, say with unwavering confidence, I live in the end result of all I desire. I see it, feel it, and accept it as done. Dwell in that feeling. Camp in that consciousness. Let it be more real to you than what your senses report. Repeat them when you wake. Whisper them before sleep. Write them, meditate on them. Let them saturate your inner world until they become the only truth you know. And then watch. Watch how your outer world begins to bend to your inner shift. Watch how money shows up. Watch how solutions arrive. Watch how your financial reality transforms, not because you worked harder, but because you assumed differently. You do not get what you want. You get who you are. So become the embodiment of wealth now. Don't wait for evidence. Don't wait for numbers in a bank account. Don't wait for someone to tell you it's okay. Assume the state. Live in the end. Feel it now, and it will manifest, for that is the law. These 3 sentences are your tools. Use them wisely. Use them consistently. And most of all, use them from the feeling of the wish fulfilled. When spoken from that place, they are unstoppable. They are the voice of the Creator within you declaring, let there be wealth. and so there is. The moment you persist in these 3 sentences, day in and day out, not from force but from faith, you begin to rewire every cell of your being. You become like a tuning fork that resonates only with prosperity. And because your inner state no longer vibrates with lack, your outer reality has no choice but to mirror the richness of your new consciousness. All struggle begins to fall away. Money no longer feels like a chase. Opportunities stop being random accidents and start appearing as divine appointments. What once felt impossible becomes normal, natural, expected. What you are doing with these sentences is not manifesting in the traditional sense. It is remembering who you are. It is reclaiming the forgotten truth that you were never meant to be poor, you were never meant to be limited, and you were never meant to beg life for scraps. You were born with the power to create reality from within. But the world taught you to look outward. The world convinced you that you must earn your worth, that you must prove yourself, that wealth is for others, or that it's only achieved through endless labor. None of that is true. You have been hypnotized by appearances, but now you are waking up. And with each repetition of these sacred sentences, you awaken more fully into your original state, the state of I am. You stop identifying with the one who lacks and start identifying with the one who already has. You dissolve the illusion that money comes from effort, and start to see that it comes from alignment. This is not denial of action. It is action from a place of wholeness, not from the desperation of lack. As these words begin to live in you, they activate something ancient and powerful, the law of assumption, not the law of force, not the law of struggle, but the simple law that states, what you assume to be true, persistently and emotionally, must harden into fact. That's it. That's the entire game. And when you live from this understanding, your finances must respond. They must bend. They must transform. No more hoping. No more waiting. No more wishing. Only assuming. Only knowing. Only resting in the certainty that it is already done. You speak, I am already wealthy, and all the riches I desire flow to me now. And then you walk, think and feel from that place. When a bill comes, you do not panic. You smile, knowing more is already on the way. When you check your account, you do not judge it. You bless it knowing it is expanding. When you see someone else succeed, you do not envy. You celebrate knowing their success is your success too, for we are all one consciousness experiencing itself. You repeat, money comes to me in expected and unexpected ways, always increasing, always multiplying, and you begin to expect miracles. You stop blocking the flow. You stop deciding how and when. You let go of your timeline and embrace divine timing. You detach from needing money to come through your job or your business alone, and instead open your arms to the infinite. Maybe it comes through gifts, maybe through ideas, maybe through inheritances, clients' contracts, or synchronicities you never planned. It doesn't matter. You just know it's always flowing, always multiplying. Then you ground yourself in the 3rd sentence. I live in the end result of all I desire. I see it, feel it, and accept it as done. And that is when time collapses. That is when the separation between who you are and who you want to be dissolves. You realize there is no gap. There is no future you to become. There is only this moment, and your choice to assume the role of the wealthy one now, to act from it, to speak from it, to think from it, to feed from it, to feed from it. Everything begins and ends in consciousness. If you plant these sentences into your being with care, if you water them with belief and nourish them with feeling, the harvest is inevitable. You will begin to notice subtle shifts at first. A random check, a free coffee, a cancelled debt, a new client, a sudden idea. Then those small signs become patterns. Patterns become habits. Habits become your identity. And your identity becomes your new reality. You see, your outer world is slow to catch up, only because you have been fast to doubt. But when you reverse the pattern, when you become fast to believe and slow to doubt, everything changes. The universe does not delay. You do. Not because you're wrong, not because you're broken, but because you're still looking outside for proof before you feel. And yet the moment you feel first, without needing any proof, the proof rushes in. You must understand, these sentences are not about brainwashing. They are about soul awakening. They are not meant to hypnotize you, but to free you, to liberate you from the chains of logic and evidence, and bring you into alignment with the spiritual laws that govern all manifestation. The law does not care whether you believe in it. It only responds to your assumption. So assume wisely, speak boldly,
Feel deeply. What would you do today if you truly believed you were already rich? How would you carry yourself? What would you wear? How would you speak to people? Would you still chase things, or would you rest in calm confidence, knowing all is coming to you? That is the state you must cultivate, not for 5 minutes, but as a permanent dwelling place.
You do not need to figure it all out. You only need to feel it real. You do not need a perfect plan. You only need perfect faith. Not faith in a religion or an outside deity, but faith in your inner reality as the cause of all. You are the operant power. Not your job, not your parents, not the economy. You. And these three sentences, when internalized, awaken you to that truth. Let others toil. Let others strive. Let others chase and worry and grind. You will be the one who assumes, who creates in stillness, who speaks into existence the world you wish to inhabit. And you will smile as your outer world bends to your inner decree, not because you manipulated life, but because you finally aligned with it. Now breathe, say them again, but this time not from your head, but from your heart. I am already wealthy, and all the riches I desire flow to me now. Money comes to me in expected and unexpected ways, always increasing, always multiplying. I live in the end result of all I desire. I see it, feel it, and accept it as done. Let the words melt into your being. Let them sink past logic, past doubt, past what the world told you is possible. Let them become your new identity, not something you do, but something you are. As you persist in this new state, you'll begin to notice something subtle, yet powerful. The world stops feeling like resistance. What once seemed hard becomes easy. What once appeared distant feels close. You no longer beg life to give. Instead, you rest in the knowledge that all is given the moment you claim it in consciousness. You stop chasing results, and you start receiving them. You stop reacting, and you start creating. The outer becomes a mirror of the inner, clear, obedient, and immediate. The people around you may not understand what you're doing. They may still live in the old paradigm of effort and stress. Let them. You will not argue. You will not try to convince. You will simply live from the end. And let your results speak, and they will speak loudly, because truth always reveals itself through demonstration. You won't need to prove. The flow of money, the ease of your life, the light in your eyes, the peace in your presence, these will be your proof. And those who once doubted will come, asking what changed. When they ask, you'll smile. You'll say, I changed within. I stopped playing the role of the one who lacks. I stopped talking about what I didn't have. I stopped focusing on problems. I started assuming the solution. I started speaking words of power. I started feeling the end. And in that moment, they'll either awaken or walk away. But you will remain unshaken, because your foundation will not be built on what you see, but on what you feel and assume to be true. There will be temptations to slip back into the old self, the one who worries, the one who doubts, the one who wonders, is this really working? But in those moments, you'll remember your job is not to ask how, it is only to remain faithful to the feeling. The how belongs to the unseen intelligence that orchestrates all life. Your job is the what, the who, the inner state. That's all. And when you master that, the how will take care of itself in ways more perfect than you could script. You are not here to fix the world. You are here to awaken to your power within it. You are not here to struggle for success. You are here to embody success and let the world reflect it back. You are not here to chase money. You are here to magnetize it through being. And these three sentences are the bridge. They are not the goal. They are the gateway. They are the reminder of your true self. Speak them, feel them, live them. Let the first sentence anchor your identity. I am already wealthy, and all the riches I desire flow to me now. It is not a request. It is not a fantasy. It is a command. It is the voice of the divine within you, asserting itself. Let the second sentence open the floodgates of abundance. Money comes to me in expected and unexpected ways, always increasing, always multiplying. This is the vibration of endless supply, of limitless creativity, of financial peace that expands. And let the third sentence seal it all with certainty. I live in the end result of all I desire. I see it, feel it, and accept it as done. That is your place of power. That is your home. From this place, action flows, not the frantic action of fear, but the inspired action of alignment. Ideas come, and you act with clarity. People show up, and you respond with grace. Opportunities knock, And you answer without hesitation. Because you're no longer waiting for signs. You are the sign. You're no longer asking if it will happen. You're declaring that it has already happened. Even in the moments where nothing seems to be happening, you remain still inside. Because you understand that the invisible is always at work. You understand that your job is not to manipulate circumstances, but to maintain state. And so you continue, like a sculptor refining their masterpiece, not with panic, but with poise, not with fear, but with faith, not with striving, but with stillness. This is how destinies change, quietly, powerfully, from the inside out, not with explosions, but with inner revolutions, not with lottery wins, but with steady rising waves of abundance that never stop flowing. You become a vessel of wealth, a center through which money moves, not as a prize, but as a tool. You stop hoarding, you stop fearing, you start circulating. And as you give, it returns. As you bless, it grows. As you believe, it expands. Your relationship with money is no longer anxious. It becomes sacred. It becomes joyful. It becomes natural. Because money is no longer something you get. It is something you radiate. It is the echo of your state, the byproduct of your self-concept, the reflection of your felt truth. And because you now live in the truth of abundance, money becomes inevitable. Others may ask you what changed. They may want the strategy, the investment, the business plan, but you will know that the real shift was internal, that before anything changed outside, everything changed within. You no longer lived in fear. You no longer rehearsed lack. You no longer fought defeat. You embodied your wish. You practiced the end. You assumed the identity of the wealthy one, and you never looked back. As you continued in that state, not just for moments, but as a way of life, your entire world began to transform, not overnight in chaos, but through natural movement, divine timing, and the quiet unfolding of destiny. Opportunities you once thought you needed to chase began chasing you. People who once overlooked you began to recognize your value. Financial situations that once caused you anxiety now resolved themselves with ease, not because the world changed first, but because your state of being changed first. And the world, obedient to the law, followed without resistance. The old you, the one who doubted, feared, waited, began to fade. And what replaced it was something solid, quiet, unshakable. You no longer reacted to circumstances like a leaf in the wind. You became the wind. You became the cause, the center, the root of your own wealth. There was no longer a question of if things would improve. There was only the steady knowing that they already had. And with that knowing came peace. The kind of peace that passes understanding. The kind of peace that doesn't depend on conditions. That is when the real miracles began to show. Because you were no longer demanding reality change. You were simply walking as if it already had. And so it did. Unexpected checks arrived. Doors opened. Solutions appeared where none existed before. You realized that the universe had been waiting all along for you to claim it, not with words but with feeling, not with desperation, but with identity. Every time you repeated those 3 sentences, they deepened. They rooted themselves into your subconscious. They ceased to be affirmations and became truth. You stopped needing to force belief because belief had become natural, automatic. You didn't just say, "I am already wealthy." You began to feel it before opening your eyes in the morning. You began to carry yourself through the day as someone who knew all needs were met, all desires fulfilled, all good things already in motion. You didn't just declare, "Money comes to me in expected and unexpected ways." You began to live in the excitement of not knowing how it would show up, only knowing it would. You walked with the energy of someone who trusted the process. And in that trust, the process worked. Fast, fluid, flawless. You didn't just visualize, "I live in the end result of all I desire." You made that end result your emotional home. You began to make decisions from the identity of someone whose success was inevitable. You began to speak to others from a place of abundance, not needing to prove anything, not trying to convince, but simply radiating the presence of someone who had already arrived. And that energy changed everything, because energy doesn't lie. The world responds to who you are being, not what you are saying. What you were being was someone who no longer played small, someone who no longer doubted their worth, someone who stopped asking, "Can I really do this?" and instead said, "It is already done." And that simple shift from wondering to knowing became the turning point. From there, the transformation snowballed. Small wins became larger ones.
Coincidences became constants. Struggle became a distant memory. You began to expect abundance, not because of entitlement, but because of alignment. And expectation, not effort, became your currency. You stopped needing things to happen fast because you already felt them real. And ironically, they began happening faster than ever before. You became light, free, joyful. And most of all, you became consistent, not in controlling the outer world, but in mastering your inner dialogue. No longer did you spiral into fear when things looked slow. No longer did you panic at the first sign of delay. You simply returned to your sentences, returned to your state, and said, "This is who I am." And that steadiness, that emotional maturity, made you invincible. There is no mystery to this, no complexity, no long spiritual pilgrimage. There is only a decision to persist in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, to assume what the world has yet to confirm, to make your inner world more vivid, more alive, more real than what your senses report. That is the path. That is the practice. That is the practice. That is the power. In this power there are no limits, because what you can imagine you can feel, and what you can feel you can receive. You are not limited by past failures. You are not restricted by your upbringing. You are not held back by your current conditions. You are only limited by the identity you assume. And the moment you change that identity, everything changes. So you continue. You speak these 3 sentences each day, not out of ritual, but out of devotion. You say them not to get something, but to reveal something, to reveal the wealth that was always within you, waiting to be felt. You live by them, you think by them, you breathe by them. And as you do, your outer world begins to sparkle with evidence that you have become someone new, not by force but by choice.
As you continue in that state, quietly, steadily, confidently, the financial changes become undeniable. You find yourself guided with effortless precision. You receive nudges, intuitive flashes, ideas that carry weight and magnetism. You begin acting not because you're desperate, but because the feeling of fulfillment moves you, compels you. The path is lit from within. It's not a reaction to lack, it's an expression of abundance already felt. And every step you take is met with response. Every inner conviction begins to echo in the outer world. You speak, and the world listens. You feel, and the universe shapes itself to your feeling. This is the divine rhythm of creation. The invisible becoming visible. The spoken word becoming flesh. And yet, it feels so natural, so obvious, so simple, that you almost forget how things used to be. You no longer count the days. You no longer measure progress with anxiety. You simply know. You know that what you've assumed must come to pass. And so your days are light, your decisions calm, your thoughts focused. The pressure is gone. The struggle has been replaced with flow. You wait each day in gratitude, not because of what has arrived, but because you've already received it within. You walk through your life like an actor playing a role they've already mastered. The lines come easily. The posture is relaxed. The presence is magnetic. Because you are no longer acting poor while trying to be rich. You are no longer mentally affirming while emotionally doubting. You are no longer asking and waiting. You are being. And that is why your reality changes. Because you are now one with your desire. Even when outer conditions attempt to contradict your inner knowing, you smile. You do not resist. You do not panic. You return to your sentences, to your truths. You repeat, "I am already wealthy, and all the riches I desire flow to me now." You breathe into it. You feel it. You allow it to calm your body and clear your mind. You say, "Money comes to me in expected and unexpected ways, always increasing, always multiplying." You feel the expansion, the openness, the joy of surprise and flow. You say, "I live in the end result of all I desire. I see it, feel it, and accept it as done." You settle into the truth. You rest in the knowing. You become still and powerful. There is no need to argue with the old story. You simply stop repeating it. You stop rehearsing lack. You stop aligning your inner world with fear. You replace it all with these 3 sentences, not because they're magic, but because they're true. because they guide your imagination into the state that creates, because they train your attention to remain faithful to the unseen, because they teach your heart to dwell in the fulfillment that calls forth manifestation. As you do this, not for a week, but as a way of life, your financial world reforms itself. Clients increase, sales expand, ideas take root and grow, support appears. Random blessings become regular blessings. You are in the flow, not as a temporary visitor, but as a resident. You live there now. You live in the awareness that everything you desire is already yours, and you allow the outer world to confirm it in perfect time. You are no longer the one who waits to believe. You are the one who believes and so receives. You are no longer the one who asks, when will it come? You are the one who says, it is already here within me. That shift, that seemingly small shift, has changed your financial destiny forever. Because destiny is not something written by the stars, it is written by the assumptions you hold right now. Not someday, not later, but now. So you continue, not with striving, but with surrender. Not with resistance, but with receptivity. And these three sentences become your silent companions. You may not say them aloud every moment, but they live in your walk, in your choices, in your expectation. They become the filter through which you see the world. And because of that, the world changes. Not because you forced it, but because you assumed it. So this new rhythm becomes your natural state, not a technique you practice for results, but a new way of being. You are no longer seduced by appearances because you've seen beyond them. You no longer need to hustle for your worth because you feel worthy already. You no longer wait for permission from the world to feel abundant because that permission has been granted from within. And this is what true financial transformation looks like, not loud, not dramatic, but quiet, certain, and permanent. Your old patterns fall away, not because you fought them, but because you stopped feeding them. The habits of worry, of checking, of doubting, of needing evidence, all dissolve when you abide in the truth of what is already yours. You don't check your account to feel secure. You feel secure first, and then your account reflects it. You don't count the coins to feel rich. You feel rich, and then the coins come rushing to match the feeling. You no longer ask, how long will this take? Because there is no longer a sense of distance between you and your wealth. You feel it now, and in that feeling, time bends, and events move swiftly. Because you've entered this new dimension of consciousness, you become sensitive to alignment. You no longer chase anything that doesn't feel like expansion. You no longer say yes to things that contradict your new identity. You no longer shrink yourself to fit an old story. The words you speak are now born from power. Your choices flow from knowing. Your presence carries authority, not the authority of force, but the quiet confidence of someone who knows the law and lives by it. You begin to bless everything. You bless your bills, knowing they represent a life filled with activity and motion. You bless the people around you, knowing they are all part of the tapestry the universe is weaving for your abundance. You bless your desires, not because they are far away, but because they are already fulfilled in the unseen. You stop judging. You stop rushing. You start resting, not in idleness, but in assurance. And from this rest, miracles multiply. Your relationship with money is now sacred, effortless, inspired. You begin to understand that it was never about dollars or digits, it was always about state. You no longer confuse money with freedom. You see that freedom was always a feeling, and that once you claimed that feeling, money came as its echo. You no longer confuse money with power. You understand that real power was always within you, in your ability to assume a new identity. And now that you've claimed that identity, money is just one of the many forms your power takes. There is no more waiting, no more proving, no more asking if you're doing it right. You have become the very thing you once sought. You have embodied the end result. And now the world moves to reflect it, not as a test, but as a law. Not because you hoped for it, but because you became it. This is the secret. This is the way. This is the truth. This truth doesn't require shouting. It doesn't demand attention. It simply is. It quietly governs all things, like the unseen roots of a mighty tree, holding steady no matter what storms come. You are no longer moved by the noise of the world, because you are attuned to the stillness within. You carry your wealth not in your hands, but in your energy. And because your energy has changed, everything around you must reorganize to match it. The people, the conversations, the emails, the invitations,
the transactions, they all begin to align with your new identity without your needing to control them. You realize now that all manifestation is simply identity outpictured. And so you stop working so hard to get something, and you start refining the version of yourself you walk in every day. You treat your thoughts like sacred instruments, tuning them to the frequency of abundance. You treat your imagination as the workshop of the divine. You respect the invisible more than the visible, because you've seen how everything that shows up first existed as a seed in the unseen. And those seeds, they are planted every time you speak those 3 sentences with feeling. Every time you close your eyes and feel the truth of "I am already wealthy," the roots go deeper. Every time you affirm that money comes to me in expected and unexpected ways, the soil becomes richer. Every time you declare "I live in the end result of all I desire," the tree begins to bear fruit, not by force, but by natural law. Your new financial reality doesn't arrive in confusion, it arrives in clarity, in harmony, in sequence. Others will look and ask, "What's your secret?" And you'll smile gently, not because it's hidden, but because it's so simple that it's overlooked. You'll say, "I began living from the end. I began assuming my wealth before it appeared. I stopped chasing and started being." And in that moment some will listen, some will remember, some will awaken, because truth carries a frequency, and when you embody it, you become a transmitter of that frequency to everyone you encounter. The transformation is no longer about things, it's about who you've become. Your outer wealth is just the evidence of your inner wealth. Your reality now reflects a state that no longer sees money as something to get, but as something that's already yours in consciousness. And in that awareness there is no end to what you can receive, not because you strive, but because you rest. As you continue walking in this rest, you begin to notice how natural it all feels. What once required effort now flows with grace. What once felt like resistance now opens with ease. You are not trying to manifest money anymore, you are simply allowing your true self to be revealed. You no longer seek confirmation in the outer world, because your inner world has already confirmed it. That is the greatest shift of all, the complete transfer of authority from circumstance to consciousness. And once that happens, you are free, not just financially, but spiritually, emotionally, energetically. You don't need to force the next big opportunity. You don't need to figure out how it will come. You simply maintain your inner alignment, and all else is drawn to you. This is not just theory. It is the law, it is the blueprint behind every success story, every so-called miracle, every unexpected financial breakthrough. At the core of it all is someone who dared to feel rich before they were rich. Someone who dared to believe they were already there. Someone who dared to say these 3 sentences and mean them. Now that someone is you. You've taken the first steps into living from the end. You've accepted your role as the creator of your experience. And from this point forward, nothing can ever be the same. Not because the world has changed, but because you have. And when you change, the world reflects it like a mirror, adjusting to show you what you've decided to become. That's the great secret. That's the quiet power. That's the unseen force behind all wealth. You are not waiting for your financial destiny to arrive. You are already standing in the center of it. Every word you speak, every image you dwell upon, every sentence you repeat, these are the architects of your reality. Speak them with authority. Feel them with devotion. Live them without hesitation. And watch silently as the universe rearranges itself around your certainty. Because now you understand, life is not responding to your wishes, it's responding to your assumptions. The moment you assume something to be true, and live from that truth, everything begins to shift. Not in some far-off future, not when circumstances finally cooperate, but now, right now. This moment is the portal, and the sentences you've been given are the keys. Not magic words but mirrors, showing you who you really are beneath the layers of doubt and delay.
You don't say them to change the world. You say them to remember that the world was never the cause. The cause has always been within you. Your inner state has always been the source, the signal, the command center. And now that you've chosen to command wealth from the inside, there is no force on earth that can withhold it from you. Not time, not circumstance, not logic. Because all of those things bow to the one who dares to believe. It was never about fixing the outer world. It was about mastering the inner one. These 3 sentences are the chisels with which you sculpt your reality. Each repetition clears away doubt. Each affirmation removes fear. Each moment of feeling their truth plants a new seed. And what grows from those seeds is inevitable, because the soil is now aligned, the gardener now awake, and the vision now clear. You are no longer merely a participant in your financial story. You are its author, its narrator, its architect. And from this elevated state of knowing, money becomes a reflection, not a pursuit. The chase ends, the striving ends, the proving ends. Only being remains, only embodiment, only the echo of your assumption made manifest in the world of form. And so you walk, not as one who is hoping, but as one who knows. You speak, not as one who is waiting, but as one who has already received. You breathe, not with anxiety, but with assurance. You have aligned with the truth of your financial destiny, and the echo of that alignment is inevitable demonstration. You begin to recognize the subtle signs around you, glimpses of your assumption forming shape. A phone call that leads to a breakthrough, a message you weren't expecting, a number that repeats again and again. These are not coincidences. They are confirmations, echoes of the vibration you've tuned into, proof not of effort, but of alignment. And the more you observe them with gratitude, instead of surprise, the faster they multiply. Why? Because gratitude signals to the universe, this is mine, this is who I am, this is my normal, and the universe, ever obedient, replies as you wish. You stop being impressed by money, and instead become impressed by your own power to create it. You stop wondering how it will come, and simply trust that it must, because it already has in the realm that matters most, your inner world. You move through your day, no longer checking your bank balance with worry, but walking with a quiet assurance that wealth follows you like a shadow, that wherever you go, doors will open, that whoever you meet, favor will find you, that however things unfold, it is always unfolding for you. You've stepped into a new identity, one that no longer negotiates with lack, but declares abundance as fact. You don't argue with appearances. You don't explain your dream. You simply live it, feel it, breathe it, and the world has no choice but to follow suit. You don't concern yourself with how long it will take, because time is irrelevant to the one who knows they already possess it. You are now the one who no longer hopes. You knows. You no longer wonder. You decide. You no longer wish. You assume. These sentences are no longer just words to you. They are your creed, your compass, your command. And as you speak them with feeling, with presence, with absolute conviction, your financial destiny responds in kind. It is drawn to your inner atmosphere like a magnet to its match. You carry this power quietly now, not boastfully, not desperately, but like royalty, who need not announce their crown. You no longer seek validation, because your reality speaks louder than your words. Your energy now enters rooms before you do, and wealth notices. Opportunities find you without effort. People want to work with you, support you, invest in you, not because you chased them, but because your vibration became undeniable. You have remembered the truth that your entire world is self-pushed out, that your assumptions form the mold, and life simply fills it. You could speak these 3 sentences once and forget them, and still they would echo through the fabric of your reality. You could whisper them in your sleep, and they would still rewire your world. But when you speak them consciously, with presence, with depth, with the full force of your imagination behind them, they become creative power made audible. They become spells, not to control the world, but to awaken your place in it. You begin to notice how your feelings deepen each time you say them, how the words begin to feel less like a desire, and more like a memory. Not something you want, but something you remember having. And that is the true secret. The moment you say, I am wealthy, and feel the truth of it, not in your bank account, but in your being, you've collapsed the distance between you and your desire. When you say, everything I touch turns to gold, and feel the tingling of that possibility, you set a new cause into motion. When you say, money flows to me effortlessly and constantly, and believe it even slightly, you've already shifted. And that shift is destiny unfolding. Not someday, not maybe, but now. You are not on the path to wealth. You are wealth in motion. And these words, these 3 sacred simple sentences, are the bridge between what was and what now is. Not because they change reality, but because they change you. And you change reality. You begin to walk differently, not with arrogance, but with certainty. Your steps are no longer heavy with fear or hesitation. They are deliberate, confident, infused with the knowing that life is unfolding in divine alignment. You look at situations not with anxiety, but with curiosity, wondering how this too is serving your greater abundance. The outside world becomes a canvas upon which your inner assumptions are painted. You see delays not as denials, but as divine timing, perfecting the result. You welcome every experience, because you understand now that everything must serve your belief. You don't need to convince anyone anymore. Not friends, not family, not even yourself, because the evidence is appearing with quiet precision. You know who you are. You know what belongs to you. And most importantly, you know how to dwell in the state of already having it. That's what these sentences taught you. Not just to affirm, but to inhabit, to occupy the frequency of wealth so fully that there's no room left for doubt. Doubt cannot live in a house filled with assumption. It cannot breathe in an atmosphere of conviction. So you stay there, not out of discipline, but out of delight. You begin to love being this version of yourself, the wealthy you, the abundant you, the secure and limitless you. And from that love flows magnetism. That's why money finds you. That's why doors open. That's why what used to be hard now feels simple, because you finally aligned with your truth. Not the truth taught to you by fear or upbringing, but the truth spoken to you by your higher self since the very beginning. You are rich. You are safe. You are the source. So you continue, not because you need to, but because it feels natural to do so. You speak the sentences not to fix anything, but to align with the reality already waiting to meet you. You've crossed the bridge from hoping to knowing, from wanting to being. The repetition is no longer a ritual, it is a rhythm, a pulse, the heartbeat of your new identity. It affirms not lack, but fullness, not desire, but possession, not someday, but now. Your mind no longer argues with what is missing, because your imagination has made it present. And imagination, as you have come to see, is not fiction, it is creation. It is the workshop of the infinite. It is the womb of reality. Everything visible once lived in the invisible. And now, because you live from the invisible with unwavering faith, the visible bends to your will, not as an act of control, but as an act of surrender to what already is. The words are no longer something you say. They are something you live. They hum beneath your breath as you walk. They vibrate in your silence. They echo in your cells. Your entire being becomes the embodiment of them. And what once felt like just a positive affirmation now feels like an unshakable truth. You don't ask if the money is coming. You know it is already here. You don't question the path. You walk it. You don't delay the reward. You receive it, because you understand now. The moment you assumed it, the seed was planted. The moment you felt it, the roots took hold. The moment you lived it, the fruit began to form. You are no longer the one who waits. You are the one who allows. You are no longer the one who strives. You are the one who receives. And in this knowing, everything changes. Everything begins again. Everything becomes yours. As you continue to rest in this knowing, you begin to witness how the outer world starts moving in obedience to your inner command. Not because you forced it, but because you became it. The people, the places, the possibilities, they all reflect your new state. They respond, like actors in a play, to the role you've decided to take. And the role you have taken is one of absolute abundance. The script is no longer being written in fear or scarcity. It is flowing from conviction and ease. Money no longer surprises you. It no longer excites you in the way it once did. Not because you are ungrateful, but because you expect it. You have made it familiar. You have made it normal. And what is normal must continue. The universe has no choice. It gives according to your internal measure. And your measure is vast now. Your cup is overflowing. Not because of labor, but because of belief. Not because of chance, but because of choice. You chose to believe. You chose to feel. You chose to persist in the unseen until the seen had no choice but to appear. And it did. And it will. Again and again and again. Because these 3 sentences have become more than words. They are now the law by which your world is governed. You've entered a new covenant with yourself. I assume, and it is done. I believe, and it becomes. I feel it, and I live it. No more delay. No more begging. No more waiting for permission. You are the permission. You are the miracle. You are the wealth. Now you no longer seek signs.
They arrive without asking. You don't look for proof in the outer world, because you already dwell in the inner certainty. You don't chase the outcome. You magnetize it. The feeling is enough. The state is enough. The declaration is enough. And in that enoughness, the world reorders itself around you. Banks respond. Clients appear. Sales increase. Unexpected checks arrive. Gifts flow in. Not because you manipulated reality, but because you harmonized with its source. Each time you say, I am wealthy, you feel the solid ground beneath that truth. Not future wealth, but present identity. Each time you say, everything I touch turns to gold, you sense how even your smallest action carries impact and value. And when you say, money flows to me effortlessly and constantly, you feel the river of provision rushing toward you, unobstructed by doubt, purified by faith. There's no longer a need to explain yourself. You are no longer the one trying to be understood. You are the one who understands. You understand that everything changes the moment you change your self-concept. You understand that money was never the issue. Alignment was. And now that you are aligned, the issue dissolves. The fear evaporates. The resistance melts. You float where you once fought. You rest where you once strained. You smile where you once cried. You are the new version of you, the one that always existed behind the veil of disbelief.
You are no longer a student of these truths. You are their embodiment. You don't simply repeat these sentences to feel better. You breathe them as your natural rhythm. They are not a tool you use in crisis. They are the atmosphere in which you live. Each moment, each breath, each action flows from the deep-rooted certainty that wealth is not a destination, it is a reflection of who you now claim to be, without apology, without hesitation. You see now that life was always listening, waiting for you to declare what was true for you, waiting for you to stop observing reality and start commanding it, waiting for you to step into the divine role you were born to play, the creator, the chooser, the one who dares to say, I am, and know that it is so. Your relationship with money has healed because your relationship with self has transformed. You don't ask money to validate your worth, you radiate worth, and money obeys. It's not about having all the answers, it's about feeling the answer. And the answer is you are already what you seek. There is no future event, no magical moment, no external sign that makes it real. What makes it real is the acceptance, the knowing, the saturation of mind with a single truth. This is who I am now. And because that is true, the world has no choice but to conform. You have declared it. You have felt it. You have become it. And so it is. There is no turning back now. Not because you are bound, but because you are free. Free from doubt. Free from delay. Free from every former version of yourself who believed they had to struggle to be worthy. That self has dissolved. That identity has been shed. You are now clothed in certainty, draped in assurance, walking tall in the atmosphere of abundance. The three sentences have done their work, but more accurately, you have done the work of believing them, living them, and now becoming them. Every morning, they rise with you like the sun. Every night, they settle into your bones like stars. They are your quiet companions in stillness and your loud proclamation in action. And every result in your life, the new bank balance, the luxurious opportunities, the ease of transactions, the divine timing, is simply an echo of what you've already accepted as true. You no longer react to the world. You instruct it. Not with force, but with faith. In that faith, mountains move. Doors swing open, locks unfasten, delays dissolve. Because all things obey the law of assumption, and your assumption is now pure, unwavering, and charged with the power of creation. You don't need to convince anyone. You don't need to justify or explain. You walk in it. You breathe in it. You shine in it. And that is more than enough. You no longer seek proof from the world, because the proof lives inside you. The calm, the confidence, the composure. These are not moods, they are evidence. Evidence that you are in the state. Evidence that you are no longer wishing, but knowing. No longer hoping, but having. The words are no longer something you repeat to get something. They are a mirror of what you already are. You understand now that reality is a slave to assumption,
An assumption is a product of your inner acceptance. So you keep speaking them, not out of habit, but as an act of creation. You keep feeling them, not out of desperation, but because they feel like home. And every time you say them, the vibration goes deeper, the reality gets clearer, and your world rearranges itself to reflect that inner shift. There's no striving anymore, only receiving, no pushing, only allowing, no chasing, only magnetizing. These sentences are not spells. They are not magic tricks. They are declarations of your eternal truth. You say them as the truth. You feel them as the truth. And now you live them as the truth. With every breath, that truth grows louder than the old story. The old story of lack, of waiting, of wishing. It fades into silence, like a dream that never belonged to you. What takes its place is your real story. The story where you were always enough, always worthy, always powerful beyond measure. These sentences were not meant to change the world. They were meant to change you. And in changing you, the world had no choice but to follow. You are not chasing money anymore. You are embodying wealth. You are not hoping for success. You are success in motion. You are not praying for a breakthrough. You are the breakthrough. And it all began the moment you allowed yourself to believe that it could be that simple. That 3 sentences, when spoken from the depths of imagination and conviction, could unravel years of limitation. That a shift in identity was the only key you ever needed to unlock every door. Now your life becomes a living testimony to that shift. You speak less about what's missing and more about what already is. You stop broadcasting your fears and start broadcasting your fulfillment. Every step you take is laced with purpose. Every decision rooted in abundance. Every encounter touched by your new vibration. You no longer look for signs, because you are the sign. You no longer need reassurance, because you are self-assured. You no longer wish for wealth. You express it effortlessly in every word, every thought, every action. The power of those 3 sentences was never in the language. It was in the energy, the belief behind the words, the feeling you dared to inhabit before the world had any evidence to offer. And because you felt it first, you now see it everywhere. You now walk into rooms as the person who already has. You make decisions as the one who already owns. You rest at night as the one who is already chosen. The miracle was never about the money. It was about remembering who you are. You remember now, not just as an idea, but as an experience. You are not trying to become. You are simply allowing yourself to be. The more you surrender to this truth, the more the world reflects it back with opportunities, wealth, ease, and divine timing. Everything bends to your inner declaration. You no longer question how it will come. You simply trust that it is already on its way, already being orchestrated, already complete in the realm of assumption. You are no longer the beggar at the gates of abundance. You are the owner of the estate. You are no longer knocking on doors. You are opening them from within. You don't ask for permission to receive. You recognize that receiving is your natural state. These 3 sentences did not give you anything. They revealed everything. They exposed the truth you had buried under years of doubt, fear, and false humility. They stripped away the illusion of separation and placed the crown back on your head. Now that crown feels light, as it should, for it was always meant to be yours. You wear it not with arrogance, but with grace. Not to prove anything to the world, but to remind yourself of the truth you now live by. The truth that all wealth is spiritual first. That your inner world is the womb of every manifested treasure. That when you speak, worlds are shaped. When you assume, realities are born. When you feel the wish fulfilled, the universe obeys. There is no effort anymore, just alignment. No fight, just flow. No proving, just being. You are the calm in the storm, the lighthouse in the dark, the quiet, steady force that transforms the invisible into the visible. And these 3 sentences, simple yet sacred, are now tattooed on your consciousness. You don't need to remember them. They remember you. They live in your posture, your presence, your peace. You are no longer looking for financial miracles. You are the miracle in motion. Everything you touch now carries the signature of abundance, not because you demand it, but because you expect it. You walk into every situation, knowing that money finds you, opportunity finds you, favor finds you, not by force, but by the gravitational pull of your assumption. Your inner world has become magnetic, tuned to the frequency of fulfillment, and nothing that is unlike your new truth can remain. Poverty cannot exist in the presence of wealth consciousness. Limitation cannot breathe where freedom is embodied. And so the world obeys, not instantly always, but inevitably, because assumption is not a game, it is a law. The moment you assumed, the unseen was already made visible. The shift had already taken place in the invisible theater of your mind, and your role now is simply to dwell in that knowing. There is no more waiting, no more wondering, no more testing. You have proven to yourself that it works, not because of luck, not because of chance, but because you finally decided to believe without seeing. That decision changed everything. It recalibrated your frequency. It rewrote the code of your experience. It turned every how into a non-issue, every obstacle into an illusion, every delay into divine precision. You now understand that life is not responding to your needs. Life is responding to your assumptions, and you have chosen to assume only the highest, only the richest, only the most blessed version of your reality. That choice, repeated, felt, embodied, became your new destiny. You no longer ask, will it happen? You live from the place of, it has already happened. That is the greatest shift. That is the sacred ground where miracles become normal, where wealth becomes effortless, where success becomes your shadow. The you that once hoped is now the you that knows. The you that once feared is now the you that commands. The world outside may still appear to be catching up, but you no longer care about appearances. You care only about the state you dwell in, and that state is unshakable, because in that state everything is already yours. You are not reaching for wealth anymore. You are radiating it. You are not striving to become successful. You are overflowing with the feeling of success, and the world must mirror back the tone of your inner being. That's how the law works. The reflection cannot resist the source, and you have become the source of your own abundance. The echo of your assumptions is wealth in your bank account, joy in your body, peace in your home, and opportunities arriving like clockwork. You now move through life not to get something, but to express what's already been given. You are not a seeker, you are a revealer. You are not in lack, you are in overflow. You are not preparing for wealth, you are already wealthy, and the world is merely unfolding in response to your unwavering conviction. The more you remain loyal to the feeling, the more the world must yield. The more you persist in the inner knowing, the more your outer world becomes obedient, not because of struggle, but because of surrender. In this surrender, you find your true power, not the kind that shouts or demands, but the kind that whispers with certainty, that smiles before the manifestation, that celebrates even when nothing appears to have changed, because within everything has changed. You no longer live in reaction, you live in creation, and your creation begins the moment you return to those three sacred sentences, and feel them as truth. Not someday, not maybe, but now. You realize the moment you felt the change, the universe began reordering itself to reflect it. You didn't need to fight circumstances. You simply rose above them in consciousness. The game was never to convince the world. The game was always to convince yourself. And now that you are convinced, reality bends. People show up, ideas land, money moves and doors open, not because you begged, but because you believed. You aligned. You remembered. You finally acted as the person who already has. The person who already has does not seek proof. They are the proof. They walk differently. They speak differently. They rest differently. There is a calm assurance in their being, a quiet certainty that draws all things unto them, and you have become that person. The you who once doubted, who once feared, who once waited, is gone. What remains is the embodiment of fulfilled desire, the living echo of assumed wealth, the effortless magnet of divine provision.
You no longer say, I need money. You say, money is already mine. You no longer say, I hope it works. You say, it already has. You no longer ask, when will it come? You declare, it is done. That language shift, subtle as it may seem, carries the power to reconstruct your entire experience, because it is not about the words, it's about the energy you broadcast when you believe them. The world feels your conviction. It hears your faith. It responds to your internal decree. The decree has been made. You have spoken your world into being, not through effort, but through assumption, not through strain, but through surrender. You dared to speak from the mountaintop before ever climbing it, and the mountain moved to meet your feet. You stopped waiting for signs and became the sign. You stopped hoping for wealth and became the embodiment of it. And now every breath you take is infused with the certainty that you are supported, provided for, and guided at every turn. You've seen the shift, you've tasted the truth, and now there's no going back. Even if appearances try to tempt you into disbelief, you no longer entertain them. You smile at the illusion, and you turn inward where the real world exists. There, in the stillness of assumption, is where your true riches live. Not in your bank account, but in your belief. Not in outer validation, but in inner realization. You have become a living portal of abundance. And everywhere you go, that energy precedes you. People feel it before you speak. Opportunities recognize you before you knock. Wealth surrounds you before it appears in numbers. Because you are no longer trying to attract. You are simply being. And being is the highest form of manifestation. You've let go of timelines, of pressure, of comparison. You've released the need to force because you finally understand the nature of true creation. It's not loud. It's not chaotic. It's quiet. It's certain. It's already done. In that still certainty, everything reorganizes itself. The delays vanish because they were only ever the shadows of doubt. The confusion fades because clarity flows from conviction. The fear dissolves because you are no longer waiting for evidence. You are living as evidence. Evidence of divine law, of inner wealth, of fulfilled desire. Every step you take is a confirmation that you are aligned with a higher truth. A truth that knows no lack, no delay, no denial, only fulfillment, only now, only yes. Yes to your vision, yes to your assumption, yes to your claim. Life says yes when you say yes, fully, without hesitation, without contradiction. And now you live in that yes. You breathe in that yes. You speak from that yes. You don't need to explain how it will come, nor trace the path. The path is formed by your certainty. Your state carves the road, and your faith lays the foundation. Every encounter, every decision, every event bows to the power of your assumption. So you walk as one who already has. You speak not of what is missing, but of what is present within. You no longer entertain thoughts that contradict your wealth. You no longer make room for doubt to sit at your table. Your mind is a sanctuary now, reserved for truth only. And the truth is you are wealthy. You are powerful. You are chosen. You are provided for in every possible way. Not later, not when things shift, but now, because you said so, because you assumed it, because you became it. The world bows to your becoming. The invisible forces you once doubted now stand in service to your vision, not because you pleaded, but because you remembered who you are. You remembered that all along, it was never about achieving. It was always about accepting. Accepting that you are the one with the authority to declare, the one with the power to choose, the one who does not ask if it's possible but declares it is already so. And from that declaration your world is reformed, no longer a victim of circumstance. You are the cause, no longer bound by history. You are the origin of a new pattern, no longer chasing outcomes. You are embodying results. This is the quiet mastery that changes lives, not through external hustle, but through inner stillness, not through action alone, but through assumption first. The moment you dare to live as if it were true, the whole universe begins to cooperate, to collaborate, to conspire in your favor, because it must, because your belief is law. Now that law is working through every facet of your life, in every conversation, in every opportunity, in every unexpected blessing. Your assumption echoes. The echo grows louder, stronger, until it becomes undeniable in form. What once was invisible now stands before you, clothed in reality, because you held it in your imagination long enough, faithfully enough. You did not flinch. You did not contradict your vision. You simply remained in the knowing. It is mine. Because you remained, it appeared, not by chance, but by law. You see now,
There was never any need to fix the outer world. The outer world is only the mirror. You adjusted the image in your mind, and the reflection had no choice but to comply. This is not philosophy. This is law. This is the hidden current that shapes every fortune, every rise, every breakthrough. And now that you've tasted it, you cannot return to a life of reaction. You have stepped into creation. You have stepped into the authority of I am. From this sacred place of I am, you no longer hope. You know. You no longer wish. You decide. You no longer plead. You claim. And that claiming is done with peace, not with panic. It is done with gratitude, not grasping. For what you claim with conviction must unfold. It must. The seen world bends to the unseen conviction. The outer bends to the inner. The form bows to the formless. And you in your stillness become the origin of miracles. You speak the 3 sentences, not as affirmations, but as decrees. I am already wealthy. Everything I desire is already mine. My world reflects the richness of my inner state. These are not idle phrases. They are codes. They are keys that unlock the infinite vault within you. They reshape your identity, reprogram your vibration, and reorder your external reality. They are not tools to get money. They are expressions of a new state of being. And in this new state, wealth is no longer something you seek. It is something you are. So now walk not as the one who waits, but as the one who knows. Speak not as the one who hopes, but as the one who has. Let the world catch up to your assumption. Let the evidence form around your unwavering claim. These 3 sentences are not magic. They are truth, spoken from the seat of conviction. They shift realities. They rewrite stories. They command the infinite. You are no longer at the mercy of circumstance. You are the cause of your fortune. Your financial destiny is no longer something ahead of you. It is something within you, activated the moment you dared to feel it real, the moment you stopped asking and started being. Say these words not with desperation, but with divinity. For the one who knows they are already rich cannot help but be met with riches. Your new life has already begun. The moment you believed it began. And from this moment forward, abundance is not a pursuit. It is your natural state. Declare it, assume it, live it, and watch the world rise to meet the power of your inner truth.